Leo, pay close attention now. I'm sensing rapid movement, unexpected communication, and a powerful shift in your energy. This truly feels like a turning point. So I need you to stop whatever you're doing, put down whatever you're holding, because I'm about to share something I have never said in all my years of doing this work. I mean that with every cell in my being. If what I'm about to describe to you does not unfold within 3 days, I will retire. I will walk away from this platform. I will pack up these cards and I will be done. That is how certain I am. That is how clearly I am seeing what is already moving toward you. That is how undeniable the energy is around you right now. I don't make that kind of declaration lightly. I don't make it for views. I don't make it to get you to click subscribe. I make it because when I sat down with these cards and connected to the energy of the person watching this, what came through was so specific, so direct, so unmistakably clear that if I didn't back it with everything I have, I would be doing you a disservice. So consider this my promise. Consider this me putting my entire reputation on the line for you and for what is coming to you in the next 72 hours. Now, before we touch a single card, I need to talk to you about energy for a moment, because there's something happening in the field around you right now that's different from anything ordinary. Most of the time when I sit down to do a reading, I feel the energy build gradually. I feel it come in layers. There's warmth, there's movement, there's a sense of things opening. That's not what I'm feeling right now. Right now, the energy around you feels like pressure. Enormous, concentrated, specific pressure. Like something that has been compressed and compressed and compressed over a very long period of time has finally reached the absolute limit of how much it can be contained. When energy builds to that kind of critical mass, when it has no more room to stay where it is, it does not release slowly. It does not trickle out. It erupts. It releases all at once. It changes everything in a single compressed window of time. And that window for you is the next 3 days. What that means practically, what that means in your actual life, is that the things that have felt stuck are about to unstick. The things that have felt far away are about to be close. The things you have been waiting on are about to arrive. Not eventually, not when the timing aligns, not after a few more cycles, in 3 days. Let me also say this before we go into the cards. Some of you watching right now are skeptical. I want to acknowledge that directly because your skepticism is not a wound. It's the result of being told things are coming and then watching them not come. Being given timelines that expired quietly with no explanation. I understand that. I hold space for that. But I'm asking you to do something difficult right now. I'm asking you to hold your skepticism in one hand and your openness in the other, because you are going to need both of them over the next 3 days. Your skepticism is going to keep you grounded. Your openness is going to allow you to receive. And you will need to receive because what is coming is real. It is imminent. And it will require you to be present enough to recognize it when it arrives. The first card, and this is the one that made me make my promise. Look at this. Look at what came out first. This card right here is the reason I said what I said at the beginning. Because this card is not telling me something might happen. This card is not suggesting a possibility or an opening. This card is announcing something. This card is a messenger, and the message it is delivering is about communication. A very specific, very significant, very targeted communication that is already in motion, already aimed directly at you, and arriving within the next 3 days. This is someone thinking about you, not casually, not in the background of their mind in a way they barely notice, deeply, actively, intensely. This is someone whose thoughts keep circling back to you, no matter how much distance they've tried to put between their feelings and their actions. This is someone who has been going back and forth, back and forth, back and forth in their own mind about whether to reach out, what to say, how to say it, whether the timing is right, and whether you want to hear from them. I'm telling you right now that the internal conversation is over. They have arrived at their conclusion. They have made their decision. And that decision is you. That decision is forward. That decision is honesty. Who is this person? For most of you watching this, you already know. There's a face that just surfaced in your mind as I said those words. There's a name that went through your thoughts before I even finished the sentence. That's them. That's the one. I want you to notice what happened in your body when they came to mind. Because that reaction, that flicker of feeling that moved through you just now, that is the part of you that already knows this is real, that already feels the truth of what I'm describing before your mind has time to argue with it. What is this person going to say to you? I'm seeing layers of it, and I want to describe them in order, because this communication is not going to be simple. It is not going to be a quick text that says, "Hey, thinking of you." This communication has weight to it. This person has been carrying something for a long time, and they are finally setting it down in front of you. The first thing they are going to express is that you have been on their mind in a way they cannot shake, that something keeps bringing you back to the surface for them, that they've tried to move on from the thoughts or from the feelings or from whatever existed between you, and it simply hasn't worked. That you are somehow more present to them now than you were when you were actually in consistent contact. The second thing they are going to express is something they haven't said before. Not in those exact words, not with that level of directness. Something they've been keeping close because saying it out loud makes it real, and real things can be rejected. But they've decided that the risk of saying it is smaller than the cost of not saying it. So they are going to say it. They are going to tell you something true about how they feel, about what they want, about what they see when they think about you. And it's going to land somewhere very specific inside of you, because part of you has been waiting for those exact words, maybe for a very long time. The third thing about this communication that I want to prepare you for is the quality of it. There is going to be something raw about it, something unpolished. This isn't going to be a carefully crafted message designed to impress you. This is going to be real. This is going to be imperfect and human and vulnerable in the way that only truth can be. That rawness, that realness is going to be one of the things that hits you the hardest, because we've all had polished words said to us. We've all had impressive speeches that turned out to be hollow. What this person is bringing is the opposite of that. What this person is bringing is genuine. And you are going to feel the difference the moment it reaches you. When is this coming? Within 3 days. I am holding to that. Here's what I want you to watch for as a specific signal. There is going to be a moment before it arrives, maybe a few hours before, maybe the morning of, where you find yourself thinking about this person unexpectedly, out of nowhere, in a quiet moment when your mind isn't occupied. They are going to come to you, and that's not coincidence. That is the energetic thread between you tightening as they move closer to reaching out. When that happens, when they surface in your mind without invitation, pay attention because the communication is close. The second card, the one that tells me there is more than one miracle moving toward you. Here's what I need you to understand about this 3-day window. This isn't just about one thing. That would be significant on its own. The communication I just described would be enough to change the energy of your entire season. But the universe doesn't operate in minimums. It doesn't send one blessing when the door is fully open. When the energy is aligned the way yours is aligned right now, when the pressure that's been building reaches the release point, things come in together. They come in multiples. They come in waves that reinforce each other, that build on each other, that arrive so close together that the effect is cumulative rather than individual. This second card is about something that is going to arrive in your life over the next 72 hours that is connected to your material world, your financial circumstances, your professional life, your sense of security and stability, and what is possible for you in those areas. What I'm seeing with this card is not incremental. It's not a small improvement or a slight uptick or a minor positive development. What I'm seeing is a door opening, a real significant door connected to money, to opportunity, to possibility in the most practical and tangible sense. This might come as an offer. It might come as information that changes what you think is available to you. It might come through a conversation that begins about something entirely unrelated and then pivots into territory you weren't expecting. It might come through someone reaching out to you about something they want to propose, something they've been thinking about that involves you, something that requires your participation or your skills or your presence. However it comes, it is going to feel almost suspiciously well-timed. It's going to feel like someone who knows exactly what you need arranged it precisely. In a sense, that is what happened. The universe responding to the work you've done and the energy you've been putting out arranged it precisely for this window. I want to speak directly to the fear that's going to rise up when this opportunity arrives, because it will rise up, and I need you to be prepared for it. There is going to be a part of you that says, this is too good. That says opportunities like this don't happen to people like me. That says there must be a catch. That says maybe I misunderstood. Maybe they didn't mean it the way I heard it. Maybe I should wait and see rather than committing right now. I need you to hear me clearly on this. That voice is not wisdom. That voice is the scar tissue of past disappointments trying to protect you from being disappointed again. I understand it. I'm not judging it. But do not let it make your decisions for you in this window. Because this opportunity is real. It is yours. And hesitation is the only thing that could cause you to miss it. What does this opportunity connect to for your specific life? I'm seeing something that touches either income or career. For many of you, it's both simultaneously. A chance to do something you are genuinely suited for in a way that compensates you at a level that feels more aligned with what you actually offer. For some of you, this is a specific offer, a job, a contract, a project, a collaboration. For others, it's a conversation that plants a seed that grows quickly into something actionable. For others still, it's information, something you learn or discover about what's available to you that changes what you pursue next. The form will be specific to your circumstances, but the essence is the same. A door you weren't standing in front of is going to swing open in the next 3 days, and you need to be ready to walk through it. Here's something I want you to do specifically around this professional opening. When you feel the impulse to say yes, and you will feel it, there will be a moment when something inside you just knows. Act on it quickly. Don't marinate on it for days. Don't make a list of pros and cons that goes on and on until the momentum dies. Trust the knowing that arrives with the opportunity, because that knowing is your intuition responding to genuine alignment, not wishful thinking. You'll feel the difference. You always feel the difference if you let yourself. The third card, and this is the most important of all three, I want to talk to you about what's happening inside of you, not what's coming from outside, not who's going to reach out or what opportunity is going to land. What's happening in the interior landscape of your own experience, in the place where you actually live, in the part of you that is underneath all the waiting and the wondering and the hoping. Because external events are only as powerful as the internal state that receives them. What I'm seeing in your internal landscape right now, in the energy that surrounds your own consciousness, in your own emotional body, is the most significant thing in this entire reading. There is a realization that is on its way to you. An internal moment of clarity so sharp, so complete, so undeniable that it's going to feel less like something you figured out and more like something that was revealed to you. A truth that's been forming in the deep water of your subconscious for a long time, slowly gaining density and weight, slowly rising toward the surface, and it is almost there. It is within 3 days of breaking through. What is the subject of this realization? I want to be specific. For most of you, it touches on one of two things. The first possibility is that it's about someone in your life. Not necessarily the person I described in the first card, but someone you have been confused about. Someone whose role in your life or whose feelings toward you or whose intentions have been unclear. This realization is going to cut through that confusion like a light through fog. You're going to see this person clearly, maybe for the first time in a long time. You're going to understand something about them that explains everything you didn't understand before. That understanding is going to bring you peace, even if what you understand isn't entirely what you hoped. The second possibility, and this one runs deeper, is that the realization is about you, about who you are, about what you want, about the gap between the version of yourself you've been presenting and the version of yourself you actually feel most true to. About something you've been wanting or needing that you've been telling yourself you don't want or need because wanting it felt like too much or too risky or too far from what you believed was available to you. This realization is going to collapse that gap. It's going to bring you face to face with your own truth in a way that doesn't allow for any more delay or deflection. You're going to have to decide what to do with it. Here's what I want you to know about how this realization is going to arrive. It is not going to announce itself with drama. It is not going to arrive in a moment of crisis or confrontation. It is going to arrive quietly, maybe in the shower, maybe just after waking, maybe in a still moment between tasks, maybe in the middle of an unrelated conversation when something someone says acts as a key in a lock you didn't know was locked. When it arrives, you're going to feel it everywhere at once. In your chest, in your stomach, in the back of your throat. That full body recognition of truth is not something you can fake, and it's not something you can dismiss. It will land with the weight of something that is simply and completely true. This is the most important of the three things coming because it is the foundation the other two stand on. Without this internal clarity, the communication from the person I described would be received from a place of confusion. Without this internal clarity, the opportunity I described could easily be rationalized away. But with this clarity, both of those things become so much easier. With this clarity, you'll know exactly how to respond to the communication because you'll know exactly how you feel. With this clarity, you'll have the confidence to step into the opportunity because you'll know exactly what you want your life to look like. This internal shift is what makes all of it possible. This is the gift underneath the gifts. Now let me show you what I see beyond the 3 days because I want you to understand what these 72 hours are building toward. This window isn't an isolated event. This isn't a random burst of good fortune that appears and then disappears and leaves things the same as they were before. This is a turning point. This is a hinge. What happens in these 3 days shifts the entire trajectory of the season you're moving into. When I look at the cards that represent what follows this window, when I look at the energy that comes after the pressure releases and the blessings land and the realizations hit, what I see is the most beautiful thing I've seen in a long time. I see a relationship changing shape. Something that was one thing becoming something more. Something that was in a holding pattern finally beginning to move. For those of you who've been in a situationship, in an undefined dynamic, in something that felt significant but hadn't been named or claimed, I see naming. I see claiming. I see two people who have circled each other long enough, finally choosing each other fully, openly, without qualification. That is what follows this 3-day window on the romantic side. I see a financial chapter that looks and feels different from the one you've been in. I don't see struggle in this new chapter. I see steadiness. I see something building. Not a lottery win, not an overnight explosion of abundance, but a genuine, sustainable increase. A floor that rises and stays risen, a sense of being supported that you may not have felt consistently before. The opportunity I described in the second card is the first brick in this new foundation. Once the first brick is in place, the next ones come more easily. I see you at a different relationship with yourself, more certain, more direct, less apologetic about what you want and what you feel and who you are. The realization I described in the third card is the beginning of a new interior chapter, one where you're in conversation with your own truth rather than in avoidance of it. That change in how you relate to yourself is going to change every other relationship in your life by extension, because the way we relate to ourselves is always the template. Now, I want to speak to the part of you that is afraid, not afraid of bad things happening, afraid of good things happening, afraid of being seen accurately, afraid of wanting what you want and having it actually arrive, because then you'd have to be in it. You'd have to live it. You'd have to be the version of yourself capable of holding what you asked for. That's terrifying in a way that's hard to explain to people who haven't felt it. The fear of arriving, the fear of receiving, the fear of having to show up for the life you said you wanted. That fear is here. I feel it in your field. I want you to know that it doesn't disqualify you from receiving what's coming. It doesn't mean you're not ready. It doesn't mean the universe is going to look at your fear and decide to redirect these blessings somewhere else. Fear and readiness coexist constantly in people who are actually on the path. You don't have to be fearless to receive. You just have to be willing. You just have to stay in the room when the thing you've been asking for finally walks through the door. When it does walk through the door, when the communication arrives and the opportunity opens and the realization lands, I want you to resist the first instinct to minimize it, to say, let's not get excited yet, to find the reason it might not be what it looks like, to protect yourself by preemptively deciding it won't last. Let yourself be moved. Let yourself be excited. Let yourself feel what it feels like when the thing you've been faithful about finally appears in your life. You've earned that feeling. Don't spend it before it arrives. I want to tell you something about the energy of your past year, because this 3-day window didn't come out of nowhere. Nothing like this ever does. This moment you're standing at, this convergence of everything I've described, is the direct result of something you've been doing for longer than you maybe realize. I want to name it because I don't think you give yourself enough credit for it. You've kept going when keeping going wasn't easy. When the situation you were hoping would resolve didn't resolve. When the person you were waiting to hear from stayed quiet. When the financial breakthrough that felt close kept feeling close without arriving. When you had every reason to close your heart or lower your expectations or stop believing that what you wanted was possible, you kept going anyway. You kept the flame lit even when the circumstances were doing everything they could to put it out. That is not a small thing. That is actually one of the most difficult things a human being can do. To maintain faith not because the evidence supports the faith, but in spite of the evidence suggesting otherwise. To believe not because everything is going well, but in the deepest part of the winter, in the hardest stretch of the wait, to still believe. That is what you've been doing. The universe keeps receipts. It does not forget that kind of faithfulness. What I'm seeing in these cards, what I see arriving in the next 3 days, is the receipt. Being honored, the investment being returned, the faith being met with proof. That's why I'm willing to stake everything on this. Not just because the energy is clear. The energy is always clear when you learn to read it. I'm willing to stake everything because you've earned this. You have done the internal work, the emotional labor, the spiritual maintenance of staying open and staying hopeful when staying open and staying hopeful cost you something. What comes in the next 3 days is the universe acknowledging that it has been watching, that it has been listening, and that it is finally ready to deliver. The final card. The seal on everything I've said. This card is the confirmation. This is the card that makes the whole reading cohere. That ties every thread together. That tells me in the language of the cards what I already felt in the energy before I turned a single one. What this card is saying in terms as clear and direct as I have ever seen in a reading is, it's time. After everything, after all of it, after the waiting and the building and the growing and the grieving and the believing, it is time. Time in the language of spirit does not mean soon. It does not mean approximately. It does not mean when circumstances allow. Time means now. Time means this. Time means the 72-hour window that is already open as you watch this, that is already filling with everything I've described, that is already bringing toward you the communication and the opportunity and the clarity that are going to change what your life looks like on the other side of it. What I want to leave you with as we close this reading is a single instruction. Not a list of things to do, not a protocol to follow. One instruction, and it is this. Be awake for the next 3 days. That's it. Be fully, consciously, intentionally awake. Not sleeping through your own life. Not on autopilot. Not half present while your phone distracts you and your mind wanders. Awake. Present. Alert to every small thing that moves around you, every communication that comes in, every feeling that surfaces inside you, every door that opens even slightly, because the blessings I've described are not going to force themselves on you. They're going to arrive as opportunities, as openings, as invitations, and they will require your presence and your willingness to be recognized for what they are. Be awake, and within 3 days, you will see exactly what I came here to tell you. I mean what I said at the beginning. I have put everything I've built on the line with this reading, and I'm at peace with that because what I see for you is not uncertain. This is not a reading where I'm hoping for your sake that things go well. This is a reading where I can see what's already in motion, already aimed at you, already close enough that if you reached out your hand, you could almost touch it. In 3 days, you won't have to reach. It will reach you. Come back and tell me in the comments what happened. Tell me which of the 3 things arrived first. Tell me what the communication said. Tell me about the opportunity that landed. Tell me about the moment the realization hit and what it felt like when it did. Because those comments, those testimonials from real people watching in real time as their reality shifts are what this work is for. That's the confirmation that keeps me here. That's what makes me willing to put my name on something this bold. Because I've seen it happen over and over. I've seen the energy align exactly like this. And I've seen people come back 3 days later with the exact story I told them in advance. You're next. This is your window. These are your 3 days. The smile that's on its way to your face, the one that arrives when you realize all of this is exactly as real as I said it was. That smile has already been earned. Go receive it. Subscribe if you want to stay in the energy. And I'll see you on the other side of your 3 days.